What I think would be bad for both sides is if he's on the team next year. I think it would be bad for both Jonathan, and I think it would be bad for the Warriors. Kuminga's not going to be in the situation he wants with the role that he seemingly wants to acquire. And it would be bad for the Warriors. It would be a distraction. And I don't think that distractions going into a season are something that a team who has aspirations to contend for a title wants to have. I just don't. The importance of management in some of these decisions, I do wonder if just how much we look at them. And I don't know if we're allowed to, if people just kind of gloss over it because we focus on the players a ton, but I do think that some of the positions that management is in, it's because they put themselves there.
Yeah, no, go ahead. Let's bring up Kuminga. Let's keep it real. I'm not mad at Kuminga. I'm more disappointed than Lake Up, and it could happen, but do you think people are turning on him? But this is the cost of doing business. He thinks he's got some leverage, and maybe he doesn't, Evan. But this standstill or whatever, I get what he's doing. It doesn't make me I think people are turning on JK, Warrior fans. And if he comes back, which I want him to do, I'm all in just for however long he's back because I know he can play and help.
Well, I think people are turning on him or already have because of an article like the one that you sent me last night.
Okay.
From Ron Kroichek of the San Francisco Chronicle, wrote a piece about Kuminga and the situation, had some quotes and some input from executives, and I think he also talked to Stan Van Gundy about what he felt. Van Gundy's Martinez native, local guy. And in the article, there was something that was kind of twisted a little bit about what JK thinks about himself. Speaking about comparisons.
Okay, wow.
To other people in his draft class. And in the article, it was referenced that he feels he's just as good as Scotty Barnes and Cade Cunningham. That's what you and I think a lot of people...
Yeah, I thought Kuminga said those words, and I was like, oh, man, I was disappointed.
I think a lot of people did too, but those weren't his words.
Wow.
Those were the words of an executive an anonymous executive, about what they believe Kuminga feels about himself. And I think that's why a lot of people have turned on him, because everyone else, or the majority of people, also believe that he believes that. They believe, and there's nothing wrong with self-confidence, by the way. Self-belief is not a sin. But realism, like reality, does have to set in at some point. And I think a lot of people believe that Kuminga feels that he is just as good as the other players that have either been paid or been allowed to realize their potential in their respective situations for the 2021 draft class.
Wow, listen, I'll say this to that. If Kuminga does feel that way, then they're as far apart as the Mojave Desert, right? From us to the Mojave Desert right now. Because, Evan, if you do come back, when you look at this, it'll all come down to 3 letters: fit. He never fit in. I don't put that all on him. He's a big part of it. I put that on Kerr. But the bottom line is, if he's having breakfast or working out and looking in the mirror, and that's his goal, Evan, he can never, ever sniff that out until Curry, Draymond, and Jimmy Butler are gone. But in the meantime, if you do come back on that 7.9, I would just tell JK, you got to maximize what you can be and what you're allowed to be in this system and try to win a chip with these guys. But when I heard that and thought that came out of his mouth, I'm like, okay, he's not coming back. But, Evan, every day I get out the sack or go to bed and there's no news, I'm telling you and anybody that'll listen, I think he's going to remain a Warrior. And I don't know what to make of this standstill, but what if I told you I put a majority of the blame at Lake Up and company? I just do. Make up your mind. Take some pennies on the dollar. I'm going to say it. We talked about it with the boss. Do you think this Kuminga situation and Warrior fans out there is a distraction?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's...
Who do you blame?
I blame both. I blame both the player and the management. Again, that's why, as we're talking about Jake Moody, if he misses kicks, he's at fault. I'm also going to blame the management because you didn't have a backup plan.
I get
you
that.
drafted this kid in the 3rd round expecting him to be Adam Vinatieri, and I hate to break it to you, he's not. But here's the quote that you're talking about. He apparently thinks he's at the Cade Cunningham, Scotty Barnes level. That's JK. Where he should get that type of contract. Both of those players were maxed out rookie deals, 4 years, $200+ million. One league source said of Kuminga, it's really a quandary. I think it's bad for the Warriors and bad for him, end quote. What I think would be bad for both sides is if he's on the team next year. I think it would be bad for both Jonathan, and I think it would be bad for the Warriors.
Can you break down baddie?
Bad because Kuminga's not going to be in the situation he wants with the role that he seemingly wants to acquire. And it would be bad for the Warriors because of that word you just used. It would be a distraction. And I don't think that distractions going into a season are something that a team who has aspirations to contend for a title wants to have. I just don't. So to me, I think what would be bad for both sides, what would be a lose-lose, is if he's on this team next season. That's just me.
No, I love it. And I guess, Evan, I'm asking, what do you think of this outside of Kuminga, this Warrior culture? And this means Steph, Dre, everybody. What do you mean? Because I'm not putting my stamp of approval on that. It's your thought. Because, Evan, I feel like once the ball is tipped, Kuminga's in a Warrior uniform, you've been through 4 years of this. Why would this be any different when you know maybe you're coming to the end or not? But what scares me about what the Warriors have going on right now is, okay, you got Dre, Jimmy, and Steph. Outside of that, I believe Kuminga is the best commodity you have, even if I don't know how best to use him. I just feel like I'd rather try to do that on the fly. I keep the Minnesota playoff series and his performance in the back of my mind. And I'm going to say this, Evan, and I can sound like a basketball idiot. Make it work. Because you can't jettison him for much, like you can't take pennies on the dollar. And that's what I'm fearful of. If you get something back that, forget Kuminga's future, but in the meantime, it's the microwave of improving this team. Like I want him coming off the bench or starting. Make it work. And I feel like
but do you want him coming off the bench or do you want him to start?
I would take anything at this point. That's how desperate I am. But honestly, I'm looking at you. I want him to start.
Why? Or for who?
Because I think he's capable, and I think it makes that team better. I really do, man.
But there's no evidence of it making them better.
Well,
there's evidence of him producing when he starts and him playing well when he is in a featured role, but there's no evidence that contributes to the Warriors being the best version of themselves.
I'll give you that, E, and I also want to people are coming for me, but I'll say this to that. I told Steiny and you, I really believe had he not got hurt and missed those 31 games, Jimmy Butler wouldn't be a Warrior. That's just me, but the bottom line is he did get hurt. But damn, Evan, when you just think about the possibilities, like the basketball possibilities, like a Rubik's Cube of being proactive if they found a way for him to fit, I mean, this dude's a stud, man, and he hasn't been that here in this uniform, but there's extenuating circumstances, and I'm just like, man, Evan, it's almost September. Bring him back. What's taking so long, E?
What's taking so long?
Yeah. If you're ready to...
They're far apart. I don't think he wants to come back. I don't think he wants to play for this team anymore. And I think they're trying to figure out how they can get something for him without taking pennies on the dollar.
And when you say it like that, Evan, I'm not saying you're alluding to this. It sounds more simple, or powers to be that are smart, like I believe the Warrior brass are. Something would have been done and completed before the 15th or 17th of August. Like, why hasn't that happened? If what you're saying is if there's some merit to it, I just don't get, okay, Joe, look in the mirror and say, okay, for Evan's sake, we don't want this to be a distraction. Now, you mentioned something earlier in the green room about Durant. His greatness, that was a distraction after every game being asked where he was going. Like, that merit that. But this Kuminga thing is different, and I don't think, Evan, if he comes back and he don't talk much, like, I don't think reporters would be around his locker after every game. Hey, Kuminga, How's it going on your future? Like, I think that would almost get lost in the games.
But every single game this season is going to be a referendum of his career, his existence in Golden State, because if he's back next season, it's probably because the Warriors will try to trade him at some point, or it's because he opts into the qualifying offer, and you know that he's going to walk at the end of the season anyway. So every single game, or whether it's good, whether it's bad, there's just going to be questions about this one player. And you're right, Kevin Durant, that was the case in 2019, especially after Draymond Green yapped
But
at
I think
him.
Draymond was irritated from the beginning that he didn't do Kyrie and say in the preseason,
That I'm out.
Don't ask me about anything until the season's over. KD let it linger and acted like it was bothering him. But you never put it to rest of don't ask me.
But that also made sense. I mean, Kevin Durant and his future, or his decision, that's a deserving distraction. Like, he's Kevin Durant.
You know who I am.
And as much as people did or didn't like him, his choice on where he was going to go in the future, like, that meant something at the time. If he had chosen to stay with Golden State, that would have kept them at a ridiculously competitive level, and he didn't want to do that. So his choice mattered. I hate to break it to people. Kuminga's choice is not even in the same plane as Kevin Durant's decision in 2019, and we're going to talk about it like it is, because it's a massive distraction. Every single game, we're going to be, well, what does that say about Kuminga? What's his future here? What do you want your role to be? Or this is why the Warriors were dumb, and if Kuminga blossoms this season, this is why the Warriors should have kept him, or this is why they should have figured it out and just paid him last summer. It's going to be about him. And I hate to break it to people, this season should not be about Jonathan Kuminga.
At this point, Evan, I guess what I'd ask is, where are you leaning? Because thus far it has been. He has personally hijacked the Warrior season, if you believe it or not. And if he has the power, if you deem he has the power to kind of be, what word am I looking for, nitpicky to drag this thing out. But at this point right now, the offseason's been all about JK.
And I would say that's a problem.